Hey, and welcome to a very long overdue episode of What She Said, the podcast for rebellious, nosy creatives who hate blueprints. It has been a while, and even though I keep promising to return, I never manage to get into the swing of things, but I'm determined to try. Done is better than perfect, and as a podcast producer, it's really actually quite helpful for me to be doing the thing that I help other people with. Today's episode is a very short and sweet solo episode, and if you've heard this story that I'm about to tell a million times, I am so sorry, but also not sorry, because that means my content strategy is working. Speaking of content strategies, that's literally what this whole episode is about. More accurately, how I created 6 pieces of content from one Instagram DM. Anyway, let's get into it. It all began, innocently enough, with a little online window shopping, one of my favourite things to do. And it was one of those moments when you casually explore your favourite brands, a little hint of intent, and then you abandon your cart. So today I want to share a tale of that abandoned cart, a universal experience that we've all encountered at some point. How often have you browsed only to find yourself overwhelmed, distracted, or second-guessing your choices, ultimately leaving your cart behind? I do it a lot. Sometimes intentionally, sometimes it's just a planned window shopping expedition that I have no intention of buying anything, and sometimes it's not intentional and it's actually really annoying. And this time it was not intentional. I just got overwhelmed. I didn't know whether I should buy it or not. I had loads of questions. Then I got distracted, probably with my kids, with something. Abandoned. What makes this story special, in my opinion, is Sarah, the owner of the brand in question, the website that I was shopping, Cub and Pudding, and she happened to notice my abandoned cart. While many business owners might dismiss abandoned carts as a common occurrence, because it is a common occurrence, Sarah, but perhaps due to the fact that we are actually friends, she decided to take a different approach. She slid into my DMs to ask if I had any questions or needed assistance. This was such a game changer for me. I'd never reached out to an abandoned lead. I've never done that, asking if there's anything I could do to change their mind. Actually, when a new lead contacts me and then disappears, or when a client departs without explanation, I usually feel relieved that nothing worse has happened. Worse, in my case, would be a client threatening to involve the authorities. The truth is, I rarely seek constructive feedback I could use to enhance my work. This reveals a whole lot about my struggle to separate my self-esteem from my work. Perhaps you can relate to this too. If so, I want us to learn from Sarah's incredible example of not only converting an abandoned cart into a sale, but also creating 2 or 3 pieces of engaging content in the process. Here's what she did. Number 1, she noticed and took action. Sarah spotted my abandoned cart and pretty promptly sent me a DM. I had a few questions about the dress I was eyeing, particularly whether it would work for autumn, because it was quite a summery dress. She responded with answers to all of my queries, and they weren't just, yes, it will work. She found images that other people who'd worn them had put on their Instagram, how they styled them for autumn. Yeah, it was incredible. She identified common themes. So she recognised a pattern in my questions. It was a pretty obvious question, despite the fact that it was sometimes incoherent and typo-ridden. She crafted a reel demonstrating how to style the dress for autumn, and another post showcasing her range of maxi dresses, because she has lots of other styles of dresses. And she even repurposed these into a newsletter, which is just genius. I don't know about you, but often I think when I'm writing my newsletter, it has to be a big, lengthy affair, but sometimes it can be just short and sweet and to the point and repurposed from another piece of content that you've written. Thinking about podcasting, or this could work even if you're not podcasting, but that's the example that I've used. You could follow a similar path with your own content. So number 1, creating engaging episodes. So pick those common themes out that people are asking you, or perhaps often comment on your posts. Turn them into captivating podcast episodes, just like this one. Delve deep into each question, providing valuable insights, practical tips, actionable advice. Your listeners will really appreciate you addressing real-life questions that they likely have too. Number 2, engage with your community. And I can't say this often enough. After your episode goes live, share it with your clients, with your audience. Encourage them to submit their questions, because if they know that their questions are actually being answered, more people are going to actually listen to and engage with you and comment and ask you to answer their questions. So that fosters this ongoing interaction and engagement. This not only supplies you with a steady stream of content ideas, but also strengthens your bond with your audience. And it's so important. Something pops into my head actually, saying after your episode goes live, that's when you should engage. Something that often comes up is when people ask me what's the best day to release my podcast episode. And there is some stats around it, but my best piece of advice would be not at the weekend, and also on a day that you are going to be active online. Don't pick a day because you've read somewhere that will, get you the most listeners, but you actually don't work on that day. You need to be available online, sharing, engaging with any comments, blah, 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 reposting, all of that jazz. I put this into practice? Yes, I have. I already have. So I want to tell you how I used that relatively small interaction. I identified the kind of core storytelling arc, the abandoned cart problem, the next steps, the transformation, and I wrote a newsletter. That was the first step. Other pieces of content I've created or am working on. I did a load of Instagram stories about the maxi dress. Obviously, I tagged Sir in it and she shared, and I got lots of comments back from that, lots of replies. An Instagram post and reel about repurposing content and how to use questions for content. A TikTok video on the same topic. I haven't done that yet, but it's in my drafts. A solo podcast episode, my very first in a while. That was the thing I was most excited by, the fact that I could just turn this into a solo podcast episode. And a blog post adapted from this newsletter, because one of my goals this year is to spend more time, but actually not spend any time on my blog. One of the ways that the top way that clients book me is actually because they found me through Google. So I know my SEO is good and I want to build on that. So that's it. Very short and sweet. If you have any ideas for future episodes, please DM me. I'm Lucy Lucroft everywhere. I'm most active on Instagram and TikTok. You won't find me on Threads or X, whatever it's called. I'm not there. Yeah. Or email me. All right. Have a great day. Please, and subscribe and all of that jazz. I hope you enjoyed this episode.